Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, wow, I did not order this nose? Congratulations! You may be wearing a family heirloom. Not the nice kind. Not Grandma's ring. The biological kind. The kind nobody asked for, nobody can return, and somehow every relative at the holiday dinner feels professionally qualified to review. His eyes are from Mom. His chin is from Dad. His hairline is from the economy. I'm Mr.Q, and today we're going through the body traits that are especially, aggressively, almost professionally good at running in families, including one that shows up in a place you will never look at. One that has a perfect, undefeated record across an entire study. And one where the researchers looked at their own number and said, we might be lowballing this. But first, let's kill the thing you're secretly hoping I'll say. Genetics is not a vending machine. You do not insert one tall dad, press B7, and receive one tall child. Genes interact with other genes. Genes interact with the environment. The whole system is less like a blueprint and more like 30 contractors arguing in a group chat. So no, the rule is not ugly traits are dominant. That's not genetics. That's something your most toxic cousin says after discovering Google. What scientists can actually estimate is heritability, the proportion of the differences in a trait within a population that line up with genetic differences rather than environmental ones. In normal person language, some traits are just better than others at showing up to the family reunion. And let's be honest, when people ask, will my child look like me? Nobody is asking about bone mineral density. They're asking, will this baby inherit my face? And can I blame my spouse if things go sideways? So, the face.
There's a study that rounded up 117 Korean families, 408 people total, and marked 39 precise measurements on everybody's face. Not vibes, not he has his mother's eyes. Actual coordinates. Then they lined all of it up against everyone's genetic sequencing. That is an enormous amount of scientific labor to confirm what grandmothers have been asserting for centuries. And out of all 39 facial measurements, guess which one came out near the very top? Nose length. So, if your relatives all have long noses, if every aunt in the family photo appears to enter the room slightly before the rest of her body, that's not a coincidence. That's inventory. But here's the part that gets me. Out of the 8 most heritable measurements in the whole study, 4 of them were nose length. The other 4? Face length. All of them. The entire top 8 is just nose and vertical. So if you and your partner are both long-faced, your future child isn't rolling dice. Your child is arriving looking like the family portrait got dragged downward in Photoshop. Not a baby, a limited edition director's cut of both parents. Somewhere out there, a horse is shedding one quiet tear of solidarity. Okay, nose done. Move north. The hairline. Specifically, that little point in the middle. The downward arrow. Like your hair is aiming at something. That's a widow's peak, and it's rarer than you'd think. One study measured the hairlines of 450 people and found the peak in about a third of them, 32.8% of the men, 29.6% of the women, which makes it, just about everywhere anyone's bothered to count, a minority feature. So, if your family's got the point, congratulations. Your forehead comes with a logo. Now, in the simple textbook version, the widow's peak runs on a dominant allele, which means it doesn't negotiate. It doesn't take turns. If you receive that version, the point shows up regardless of what the other one's doing. It walks into the room, says, I'm handling the hairline, and every other gene goes, yes, sir. And there's a survey out of Pakistan that makes this almost eerily clean. When neither parent had a widow's peak, not one child had one. 0. A perfect shutout. It only appeared in the kids when at least one parent was already carrying it upstairs. The widow's peak does not sneak into a family through an air vent. Somebody brought it. And while we're already up here, nervously examining the forehead, let's talk about the thing some of you have been quietly dreading since I said the word hairline. Male pattern baldness. The heritability estimate sits around 0.79 to 0.81. And some researchers have argued that number may be an underestimate. Sit with that. Scientists looked at one of the highest figures in this entire video and went, yeah, we may be lowballing it. People love saying you inherit baldness from your mother's side. Meanwhile, genetics is standing in the corner in sunglasses going, it's more complicated than that. Your father can absolutely participate in the disappearance. This is not a one-parent crime. This is a coordinated family operation. Your hairline isn't receding. It's reconnecting with its ancestors. All right, rotate the head. Because your jaw is out here preserving family history like a museum curator, how far your upper and lower jaw project changes the entire profile. Upper jaw comes forward, different face. Lower jaw comes forward, different face. Both decide to freelance, and orthodontists start pricing boats. And the skeletal measurements behind jaw projection? Heritability estimates commonly around 0.7, sometimes above 0.8. That's not family resemblance, that's architecture. There's a reason one European royal family became world famous for a chin. They spent generations treating the family tree like a closed beta test. At some point, it stopped being a family tree and became a family wreath. So if the album is full of underbites, overbites, and front teeth arriving early to every conversation, a kid's profile may already be scheduled. Trends change. The jaw remembers. Now let's go below the neck, where every relative suddenly becomes a nutritionist. Body fat. One study went comprehensive. Body mass index, skin fold thickness, circumferences of basically everything they could get a tape measure around. The lowest heritability they came back with? Not one measurement dropped below 0.6. And it's not just how much. Genes also have opinions about where it goes. Another study adjusted for overall BMI, took total body size out of the equation entirely, and waist-to-hip ratio still landed around 0.4 to 0.6 in women. Because apparently, fat believes in real estate. Location, location, location. Two people, same overall size, completely different storage strategy, because the genetic interior designer made different calls. One body says, keep it all at the waist. The other says, let's diversify the portfolio. Though, genes load part of the game. They don't play every move. Food, sleep, activity, health, and development are all still in the room. Now, the traits nobody mentions at a baby shower. No relative has ever leaned over a crib and whispered, "Oh my God, he has his grandfather's lumbar bone density." But genetics is working down there too. Bone mineral density is what decides how solid your skeleton is and how well it resists fracture. And the heritability of it splits by sex in a genuinely strange way. In men, it's dramatically higher in the lumbar spine and the entire lower limb. In women, it flips, far higher in the entire upper limb, the thoracic spine, and the pelvis. Same trait, same family, completely different regions getting handed down depending on who's receiving the package. Your skeleton has departments. Upper body and lower body are apparently filing separate genetic paperwork. And one last one. You already know height runs in families, but researchers went bone by bone to find which one carries the most. The winner? The femur, your thigh bone. So those long legs in your family are less, "I manifested this," and more, "Grandpa sent a package." Which means when somebody says, "I got my height from basketball," the femur can quietly reply, "No, you brought me to basketball." So there's the list. Nose length, face length, the hairline point, the hairline's long, slow retreat, the jaw, how much fat and where it files, bone density you'll never see,
and the thigh bone that decides how tall you get. You didn't pick a single one of them. Neither did your parents. Neither will your kids. And honestly, that takes the pressure off. Because heritability was never destiny. It's a population-level estimate. It tells you how variation is distributed across a group. It has never once told a specific person how their specific face is going to turn out. Reproduction isn't copy and paste. It's remix and pray. You're not a design. You're a draft. Passed down, marked up, passed down again. And somewhere in that pile of inherited nose length and stubborn bone architecture is a face that has never existed before in the entire history of the species. That one's yours. So the next time someone says, "You look exactly like your father," don't argue. Turn slowly toward the horizon and say, "The data supports this allegation." Send this to the relative whose genes have clearly been working overtime. I'm Mr.Q. Your face may be unique, but the family already owns the franchise.